Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. On today's episode, we're going to talk about Nikki Glaser's jokes on her recent appearance on Saturday Night Live, a freak accident that killed a father and son, yet another failure in the justice system, this time in a high school rapist is walking free, how fame ripped apart America's most inbred family, and a procedure that could change your eye color. What could possibly be controversial about that? All that and more on today's episode. What's up with this SNL? They're just like, I don't know. It just seems like clickbait kind of, I guess you would say.
Well, I guess let me get into it first and I'll say my opinion about it. So Nikki Glaser hosted SNL this weekend and she delivered her monologue as every single SNL host does. And unlike the celebrities, most of the time stand-ups will do their own jokes, not the ones that SNL writers have written. So she did a bunch of controversial jokes at the beginning of it, which is not atypical for her. She's always doing controversial stuff. But I guess what people are really upset about is part of it was she was talking about if she were to take a shower with her 4-year-old nephew, what if she ended up becoming attracted to him? Because how do pedophiles end up becoming pedophiles? Like, what's the point they become pedophiles, right? So I guess everybody's really upset about that because joking about pedophilia to most people is not okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could go both ways with this. It's like, number one, comedians always say things that are, I mean, good ones anyway. There's no point if you can't like let it all out. And I mean, right? I like that part of comedy when comedians aren't being censored for what they're saying, right? But on the other hand, I just think about whenever it almost reminds me of, we were talking about this in our YouTube live, the what's her name, Kristen Bell,
Yeah.
and what's her husband's name,
Dax Shepard.
Yeah, they did a post a couple weeks ago making light of the fact that she gets on her husband's nerves so much that she wouldn't be surprised if he killed her one day or something like that. It was like some reference to killing your wife, right? And it was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and a lot of people were just like, dude, you aren't isn't she like Elsa from Frozen?
Yeah.
Okay, so like people are following her because she's like a Disney character, and then there's people who are in domestic abuse situations and it's not funny to them, and people don't want to hear that as a joke, that like their reality is a joke. And I was thinking about the same thing. You know, there's a parent right now, at least one, but we know there's multiple parents right now that just found out that their kids got molested by an adult. And there might be a point that they might want to sit down and just watch TV and watch something like Saturday Night Live so they could laugh, because they're going through the most terrible thing a parent could go through besides their kid getting killed, right? And like, to hear that, which not just a parent going through it, but definitely there's lots of people in that audience and lots of people watching that are victims of that as well. So it's just kind of like an upsetting thing like that people don't want to really think about during a portion when they're supposed to be laughing, right?
I don't know. I really like her stand-up a lot. I do think she missed the mark with this one. I honestly can't believe NBC allowed this, especially with how shitty this show has been for at least the last 20 years. They just don't do anything funny anymore.
They don't. Well, that's the thing. Like, they don't care, and they haven't been funny for years, right? But they don't care because ultimately every single person's talking about Saturday Night Live and clicking to watch the video. And that's kind of sad, you know?
Yeah, but I always reference this. Colin Jost wrote a book, and he has an entire chapter called Notes from Advertisers or something, and it's like something that advertisers said, like, you absolutely can't make a joke about this during the show. And when you like see the censorship from the advertisers, you're like, okay, this is like so stupid and ridiculous. And it just makes me think of that, because they certainly, when they have had stand-ups on in the last couple years, they do push it a little bit more, especially when they have Shane Gillis, like more controversial people on. But I really just can't even believe they let her say this, honestly. I feel like they knew it was going to get backlash, but to your point, it's getting them views. They haven't been getting many views in years, so I don't
I
know.
mean, the weirdest part of this story. I mean, the jokes, whatever. The weirdest part of this story is her talking about taking a shower with her nephew. Like, when is that ever? That's just kind of weird.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Like, you
say
take
too.
a
It's
shower
just,
in front of your kids. Like, my kids have seen me naked, but I wouldn't get undressed in front of my sister's kid. That's weird.
no, it is inappropriate, and it's like I think she just didn't deliver. I doubt she does that in real life, and I think she just really misdelivered the joke, and it wasn't well thought out. Because I think she really does do a good job of having that good mix of controversial but not pushing it too far. I think this one definitely pushed it too far. She's supposed to host the Golden Globes in January. I wonder if that's going to be affected because
God.
of this. Personally, it's like I can see Kristen Bell made that joke. I could see Nikki Glaser made this joke. I don't think they should be canceled. I just think they took it too far, right? But you know how people are. They're going to want death to them all over a bad joke, right? So I think it's bullshit if CBS ends
Yeah, I
up
mean,
canceling
I'm
her
not
appearance, but
I'm not a fan of canceling people in general. It's just like sometimes you might just have to reel people in a little bit because there's always going to be the next one upper and the next one upper, and like people are probably upset too because of this whole movement of a certain amount of people that think it's okay to be attracted to children, and like it's something that we need to make a hard line and say that this is just never going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like it's just something that needs to get reeled in and stopped before it goes any further.
yeah, no, totally. I mean, I just think it was a poor choice of something to say, and she wasn't maybe she was thinking nobody watches this show, nobody will hear it. Seriously. But I don't know.
That's definitely not happening.
I know. I'm making a joke cuz their ratings are so notoriously terrible, but I think she'll be fine from this. I don't think it was a smart choice, but I'm number one. Like, pedophiles should be set on fire. I hate pedophiles. Obviously, I'm not going to stop listening to her stand up because of this. I just think she didn't execute it like she thought she was.
I wonder, do they have to give them like their whole list of jokes that they're going to say ahead of time?
Oh, totally. They can't. Don't you know, like, Sinead O'Connor and a couple other people have gone rogue on there?
Well, do you think maybe she went rogue?
I don't think so because I think that information would have come out by now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just, I don't know.
The show
Maybe
got
listen, maybe
famous
they
because
think
of
maybe they think it's okay to do this with children, and that's why they don't care. Like, who the hell knows what people think anymore?
I just think I think they're all comedians that work there, so they all don't take offense to it like a normal person does, because you could talk about literally anything and somebody will take offense to it, right? So I think when you're a comedian, you're really just desensitized to a lot of things like that, and I think a lot of them really just didn't think it would get them out of backlash than it is. But I think people are also making it a way bigger deal than it is. And I don't know. I don't think she should issue an apology over it or anything, but like everybody just needs to understand she didn't land that
Reel
one.
it in.
Yeah, reel it in. Reel it in, not appropriate. All right, a man and his teenage son were on vacation in Laos, and while ziplining, they were swarmed by wasps, stung dozens of times, and both of them ended up dying.
Yeah, I mean, when you're on vacation and you die, unfortunately, you're subject to what's ever happening in the hospital systems and the medical examiner's system or coroner, whatever they have going on there. So I don't think that they're getting a whole ton of information, but just saying that they went into anaphylaxis and they died. The doctor at the hospital did say that each one of them had over 100 stings to their bodies. And
God.
the son had died within a half hour of getting there, and the father died within a couple hours of getting there. So what happens during anaphylaxis is that there's lots of different things that happen to the body, but one of which is that you could get this enormous amount of swelling in your throat that could close off your air supply, along with having changes in blood pressure, a drastic drops in blood pressure, difficulty breathing, and things like that. So that probably was apparent right away in this case. this could happen by people that aren't stung by murder hornets, just a regular
Well, not
wasp.
confirmed they were murder hornets. They didn't know which ones they were.
Well, but they live there. It just
They live there, but
that
they
doesn't
don't
even
know which ones they were.
that doesn't matter what it is. Like, it can happen with any wasp if you're allergic to it. But once you get stung by multiple wasps like that, it's like anybody can die from that. So even though, you know, if they each got stung once and they both died, you might say, oh, they're related and they might genetically have this allergy that runs in their family or something like that. But I think that no one would have a chance. And one interesting thing about wasps is that if you come across a colony of them, if one of them sends out a pheromone to all of their friends, they like all come and sting.
Oh my god, that's so scary.
Yeah, it is so scary. So it happened. A little kid at the girls' school a couple years ago got stung by 5 wasps in the playground. And a little kid, she was maybe in 3rd grade or 2nd grade, like she was a little girl, and they called, rightfully so, called 911 right away, because that much stings in a small body like that. You know, they took her to the hospital and everything, and she ended up being fine, thank God. But it's really scary, and it's something. What a freak thing for that to happen on vacation.
No, it's terrible. And you know, I hate that my mind goes here, but I had written that article about what happens when you die abroad, and I just think of how expensive that must have been for their families and how complicated it was to get their bodies back here, and it's just an added layer of trauma onto this already horrific event for this family.
You know, it's interesting because there's a chance for my kids, one of my daughters, to go on this trip, to go to the Dominican Republic to go build houses or do some Habitat for Humanity type thing. It's not that particular organization, but she wants to go, and I keep saying, well, you can go if you want to go, but like, me and Daddy are going too. We'll stay in another hotel. And she thinks that that's a little excessive, and I'm just like, well, what if something happens and you're all the way there and it's going to take me hours just to get on an airplane and actually even get there? And like, I'm going to show her this story later and be like, this is exactly why, like, these people thought that they were ziplining and all of a sudden they were in a hospital dead somewhere.
I mean, now that you say that, upon reflection, I can't believe you let me go to France by myself as a teenager. But you were secretly pregnant and hadn't told me yet.
No,
so
that's not the reason. But you went and you weren't you like 18?
I was 17.
You were 17 years old.
Yeah.
Like, she's 12. There's just a huge difference.
No, totally. I
You
can't
know what I
even believe
mean?
they would take them on an international trip that young.
Oh yeah, like, and it's cool. I think it's a cool opportunity, but I'm just not that mom to be like, okay, go with the chaperone that I barely know. Like, no, I'd rather be in the vicinity. You don't have to look at me the entire trip. I'll be like sitting on a beach somewhere, drinking non-alcoholic coconut margaritas, right? But like, I just want to be there in case something happens. Call me crazy.
You are crazy. All right, this next story a listener sent in, which I'm thankful for because I didn't see much coverage on it, and we have talked about it. It's ridiculous. So last year, this star high school baseball player was arrested and charged with felony counts of rape after he attacked 2 16-year-old girls, leaving one of them close to death after being choked unconscious. So now after all these charges, he was facing up to 80 years in prison, and he got this ridiculous plea deal that allowed him to just walk free. So he's not going to jail at all.
I just don't understand this at all.
So originally he got arrested when he was 17, but he was charged as an adult, and then he made this plea deal where then he could be charged as a minor instead. And then I guess wherever he lives, so he was facing up to 80 years in prison, and I guess because they switched it to a minor, he's now getting charged as a minor would for crimes like this. And now he basically just has probation.
But I think they said when he got changed to the minor, then he pleaded no contest, which I don't really understand what that means.
It's you're not saying you're guilty or innocent.
But regardless, he got a slap on the wrist. What is it? Community service, like some bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, a year of rehab and community service. So he doesn't even have probation.
Yeah. And see, this is when I was thinking, like, if this happened to one of my daughters, this is when, like, my husband would go take care of business, maybe, right? Like, eh, not even him, like, I would go too. Like, I just couldn't even handle that. That's how the justice system works when there's a photograph of this child, like, in a wheelchair. And also, let's take into account how he actually injured them. I don't know if you guys got a chance within the past couple of weeks, we interviewed Jim Schmidt, who was Gabby Petito's dad. And in that, he's actually doing education sessions around the country, educating first responders on how to recognize if a woman was choked, because he has some crazy statistics that I want you guys to listen about in that episode. But most importantly, that the greatest number of people who commit homicide also have a history of choking like this. It's like a correlation between people who choke when they're fighting and they're angry versus not. And there's just a high number of these people who end up killing someone because of it. And it's like a red flag when you think about, let's talk about, like, we hear about serial killers in the past, or just people who are sociopaths in general, killed animals when they were younger, tortured animals. And we know that when a little kid's doing something like that, that might be a sign that there's bad things to come. It's the same exact thing with a person choking someone in this situation when they're fighting with especially in a domestic, like a relationship situation. It's a huge red flag in a kid that's done it twice now at 17 years old, and he can literally just go and walk around, and this won't be the last time we hear from it. And unfortunately, that next victim, if they do survive and don't have, or if they survive and have extensive brain injury, I mean, what do you even tell the next person that's going to be the victim of this guy?
The thing I see with this is there will be additional victims and most likely a death resulting from this person, right? I mean, this person's 17 years old, raping these girls that he's dating only for a couple months. He choked one of them so badly she had to have surgery to repair her neck, and the doctor said if the choking had gone on for 30 more seconds, she would have died. And they found, this is not hearsay also, or just what the girls are saying. I mean, she obviously has the physical damage, and then they found videos on his phone of him choking them.
How, I just don't, I keep trying to think from this parent's perspective. Like, they're pissed, obviously. How do you not go and find this dude? Like, I can't imagine that you could just be like, okay, well, that's what it is. And I would just be so scared of my daughters still surviving in a world where that guy's not behind bars for a significant amount of time.
Well, obviously, because you want to hope that he doesn't go back and try to get some type of revenge against them reporting him. One thing
Well,
that really
I'm sure there's a restraining order and that,
I
that
don't think
magic piece of paper.
I don't think there is. And something that really stood out to me in this article, it says son of a prominent local sports coach. So how are we not supposed to think there was some influence over this? This is ridiculous. This person is 17 years old, a year away from being a legal adult, and is doing these extremely violent things to these young girls. You don't think that's going to translate into his adulthood? Oh, we got a little slap on the wrist. You don't think he's going to rape anybody ever again?
Who is a local sports coach? Like, what I don't know how they would possibly have influence.
It could be a really big coach at a university or something. Like, you don't know.
I guess. What I mean, regardless, like, it's just, I just can't even, I was listening today, and this isn't something that we're really going to talk about on this program because it doesn't really have anything to do with disease or death, but the MLB players that just got in trouble for betting, the two pitchers from the Cleveland Guardians, right? Like, their punishments they're looking at up to 65 years in jail. One of them just got arrested and got $500,000 bond. These are things that are so much higher, that those particular fines and jail time are so much higher than so many cases that we talked about on here of, like, actual people who should be behind bars.
Think about the Chrisleys. They went to jail. I think they both got sentenced to jail for over a decade for bank fraud. And then this 17-year-old, almost adult man is raping 2 young girls and choking them to the point where one of them almost died. To quote Nancy, this is a total miscarriage of justice. I feel terrible for these girls. They're going to live in fear the rest of their life. It's not if, but when this guy attacks another woman or when he kills a woman. And then we're going to go right back to this article and say, oh, on November 12th, 2025, we reported that this person just walked free from these heinous crimes. It's disgusting.
It is, and it's so scary too, because we were talking about in the last episode about the trans person that was in the gym that had that crazy history of beating the shit out of his wife so bad that he broke her jaw and all, and right? When we're in public situations, like you're in the gym, or this guy, he could just live where he's living now or just move to another town. Maybe somebody won't recognize him, whatever. He's going to get older, change the way he looks a little bit and stuff. How do you know that when you're either going to a bar as a young 20-something person, or your kid's dating some guy, that they don't have this kind of crazy history behind them? Like, it's just really, really scary that people that are doing such violence to other people are getting away with barely anything, right?
Well, of course, it's very disturbing to think we are just walking around with people like this that are caught and not punished.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're caught and I just don't. If you're going to put a guy that was sports betting in jail for 65 years. I mean, it just,
because that has to do with money. So if it's money, jail for life.
And listen, like, I don't think it's right and I don't agree with it, but I certainly think choking someone out is definitely higher on the list.
Yes.
I just am so confused.
I don't understand why sexual assault and attempted murder aren't treated the same as murder. You tried to kill somebody, you just weren't good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
So why are you getting punished
You get a second chance to be better at it, that's why.
It's unbelievable.
That's what the second chance is, to make them get better at it.
Seriously. This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, so as we said, this week's high-profile death dissection is on Parker Schultz, and that is the 2-year-old that died in a hot car at the hands of her loser dad. So make sure I don't hold back what I think about this guy. We had a really interesting case in the Gross Room this week of a guy who almost amputated his penis, and it is the most bizarre thing that you've ever heard. It's so weird, and it's even more weird that he said that he was still having sex with his penis looking like that. I just can't. I really just can't. What else? Oh, so our next story that we're going to be talking about is inbreeding. So we did a whole high profile dissection on inbreeding a couple years ago now. Didn't we do it for like Valentine's Day?
Yeah, we did.
It's like a Valentine's Day special a couple years ago. And we do talk about this case of this family that we're going to talk about in the next story. But we also talk about lots of different cases of inbreeding and why it is terrible. And there's a lot of things to really learn in there about how your cousins are related to you. I remember when we were writing that up thinking that, you know, I have my first cousins. So then I just thought that their kids were my second cousins, but it's not really. It's like something twice removed. Like, it's one of those weird things. So
weird.
Just looking at the chart to see like who you shouldn't breed with, it's really interesting.
You shouldn't breed with anybody that populates on your family tree. This is ridiculous. All right, guys, if you want to read that, head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up. Okay, America's, quote, most inbred family, the Whitakers, are facing difficulties after viral videos of their family resulted in multiple family members being removed by state officials.
This is actually kind of sad.
It's really sad.
Because they get, I guess, who did the initial interview that went viral on YouTube? It was just some, like, a local interview thing, or what was it?
I don't know the guy's backstory, but he became aware of the family and did a small YouTube documentary about them. And I think that's the first time the public really learned about them.
And I get that because I like to showcase different things. So if someone if I came across someone that would be willing to share their story, I would want to share it too for interest. But I mean, this started this downfall of events for people, especially when you're super famous, but you're not becoming rich and famous. And you don't have all the protections that celebrities have, like security and just being able to be isolated from the public and not having to go to the store to get your food and go to the gas station yourself and all. Because I imagine that they get quite harassed in public because everyone knows who they are now, and it's led to this.
Well, and it's their abnormalities are quite obvious physically, so I feel like, you know, you might just be taken off guard by what they look like and then piece it together, right? So there's definitely no privacy there. Um, I understand why the state officials went to the home. I mean, when you look at the videos of the home, there is bugs crawling everywhere. There is rotten food laying out. Like the house is a mess, right? It's probably not in great living conditions, but these people are such a close-knit family and it's all they know. And it makes me really, I mean, the interview is just saying with the others that weren't taken by the state, just saying, I miss them. They haven't talked to them since September and they don't know where they are. It's just really sad to think about separating a family like that.
Yeah, I mean, and clearly they're not all there as far as mentally to be, like, maybe they do need to be monitored by someone else if they're not intellectually able to take care of themselves and others and they're living in that situation. I mean, there's plenty of people that have a PhD that live in a hoarded situation with bugs and everything like that, but if you're talking about their intellectual capabilities, they just might not be capable of it. And it just sucks because I feel like they were just kind of there and like living their life fine and content. And then this guy comes in and does a documentary on them. They become super famous and they didn't get anything out of it. And I mean, they're probably super poor too.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, they're not. It doesn't look like they're living. I'm sure they didn't make $1 off of their internet fame.
No, and their story is most interesting because their inbreeding goes back to over a century, and it's linked to a single marriage between two sets of cousins descended from identical twin brothers, and then that's when the gene pool started collapsing. And then it just kept going for decades until we get
so
here.
that's actually even that is a really crazy thing actually, because when you're not supposed to breed with anyone second cousin or closer, because you don't want to be with anyone that has more than really 3% of a shared DNA with you, because it just increases the risk. Because when when you're created, you have half of your DNA from your mom and half of your DNA from your dad. So in the case with them, if the two parents that started were identical twins, they both have the same DNA, and then they both had kids. So those kids each have 50% of the same DNA. And then like that's what's really scary.
But then it seems like it didn't stop there. Like it kept, like every generation had some form of incest continuing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happening there. I mean, listen, I see why the video went viral because it's super interesting, because people say that, and we kind of hit on some of those taboos in the gross room, because a lot of times, like, this particular family isn't the exact representation of that, but we talk about it from a historical standpoint.
Because a lot of royals did it.
There's a lot of royals did it. Isn't Queen Elizabeth
and Prince Philip, I believe, were third cousins.
Yeah, so it's like that was a common thing, especially back in the day. And I guess a lot of people look at someone that might be really, have some kind of weird facial feature or something and say, oh, they look like they're inbred. And it's like, that's not really what the problem is. The problem is more for genetic things that are passed down, because when you share the same genes, that's really the biggest concern is that you're spreading it among your family so much easier. Like for example, I know a lot of times women now, if you're having a baby, you get tested and they want to see if you're a carrier of a cystic fibrosis gene. Well, if you have two people that are carriers, then there's such a high probability that you're going to have a baby that has that. And just the closer in DNA you are, the higher chance that you're both going to have these recessive genes that could come out in a child. And some of them could be really deadly diseases. So it is definitely a concern. And it's just kind of a sad situation for these people, because there are, like, come on, they're not living. I mean, they were living their best life, but like now, I don't know. It's just like tearing apart something that seemed like they were content before.
No, it is upsetting. And I know you wanted to talk about something that Maureen talked about on The Nerve recently too, which was this controversial interview with Jeremy Irons, the actor. In 2013, he did this controversial interview about same-sex marriage and suggested it could open the door for fathers and sons to marry, perhaps as a way for a father to pass down property without estate taxes upon death. And then he said this technically would not be incest if it were between men, because incest is there to protect us from inbreeding, but men don't breed.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Well, the reason that I told you to bring up this point that Maureen was talking about this week was because in the post that we wrote in the gross room, there are certain laws that are only apply to people that are of age to, like, if you're older and you can't procreate anymore, you can't have babies anymore, then you're fine. Or so in theory,
in
like
certain
what he
states, like
in
what
certain
Chrissy said
states
to us.
in certain states, but it's just like what he's saying is, I mean, like, it's so wrong and disgusting, but it's if the laws are created so people are not, it's not morally wrong. If you want, the United States are basically saying they don't give a shit. It's not morally wrong if you want to marry even your brother and sister. It's because they're scared that you're going to have babies that have problems. So in theory, if you can't have babies, then like, what's the harm?
Well, that is ridiculous. I mean,
it's
such a ridiculous
absolutely
statement to
ridiculous.
say.
I'm just putting it out there that the laws aren't created, because every single time, didn't we just talk about this a couple weeks ago, that in the UK, like that the National Health Service in the UK had said something that there wasn't a problem with it, and then they like backtracked it or something?
Yeah, because like I guess what he's saying is like incest isn't incest unless you're procreating, but like that is not true, and there are plenty of fathers and grandfathers that molest boys as well. Or they have relationships.
You're not talking about little boys. You're talking about
I know.
two grown men.
No, I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with procreating. It's the fact that like you should not be engaging in sexual activity at all with a family member, whether it results in procreation or not.
But that's not scientific, though. That's just moral.
Well, morally, that's how I believe. So, like,
no, obviously, like, if you ask anybody, they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, like, ew." Think about your cousins, like, ew, no thanks, right? But they're just saying, like, they don't care if you do it. They just care because they don't want you having a baby with that person. So if you can't have a baby, then like, what's the problem?
This is insane. I can't believe this conversation actually comes up so frequently, because did we talk about that mom that accidentally married the son she gave up for adoption when she was really young?
Yeah.
Did they have kids? I don't remember.
Well, that's the thing. It happens. Like, you were just saying, I don't think you should marry anyone in your family tree. But like, I feel like we actually know someone that we heard this story when we were younger, that one person went to school with their brother that they didn't know it was their brother, and they never dated, but there was, I mean, obviously
they almost did.
Yeah, like when there's two people that are 17 years old in a school together and they don't know they're related, that, I mean, it happens from time to time. It just has to.
Well, especially if people are having affairs and stuff and they're not open about.
So that's the thing. Like, what happens? Wasn't it with that mom? Like, you're dating a person for a certain amount of time, and you don't even find out until years later when these DNA tests come out that you give someone for Christmas. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, you just don't always know.
Oh yeah. All right. A new documentary is coming out about a man who underwent a controversial surgery to change his eye color. What do you think could possibly go wrong?
This is something we've talked about in the past, but this is a different kind of procedure. First, where could we watch this documentary?
So it's called Caterpillar and it's in theaters now. I'm not sure if it's immediately going to streaming after, but
So this is a really interesting thing because this person that made this documentary followed this guy who wanted to permanently change his eye color. So we all know that they sell these contact lenses you could get to change your eye color, but there's some different kinds of surgeries that could be done to actually change the color of your eye without having to put contacts in. And she followed this guy there, and I think there were a couple other people that, so it's important to know that this is an implant that they put inside of your eye to change the color of your iris, which is the colored part of your eye. And it's not FDA approved in America, but there are some countries that do it. I think it was like, was it Turkey or India? Whatever.
this procedure was done in India.
In
this
India,
guy's.
okay? So this documentary film crew goes and follows people that are going to go get this controversial procedure done. And one of the patients asked the doctor, would you do it on yourself? And he said, well, no, I like the color of my eyes. And then he said something like, I probably wouldn't do it anyway because there's too many complications. And I guess this documentary filmmaker was so shocked because after her hearing that, she still went through with the procedure, even after hearing the doctor themselves say, I wouldn't get it for myself. And as a documentary filmmaker, I guess you are in situations sometimes, especially when you're filming super controversial things, that things happen that you're like, oh my God, should I intervene and stop this? Because this is so crazy right now. But I guess you're trying to capture it as well, you know?
Yeah, but the person's still an adult and making a choice. I mean, red flag number one for me is this guy went to the company and wanted to get it done, but didn't have the money. So then promised to do promotion in exchange for the surgery. And I'm like, you should not be.
Also, red flag number
exchanging-
2 is if the FDA didn't approve it. I mean, the FDA has approved some crazy shit. If they didn't approve it, it must be really bad.
If they approved Oxycontin, no questions asked, then you should really be thinking about everything else. Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely insane to me. And like, personally, I just would never do anything to touch my eyeballs unless it was an emergency.
So the guy gets it done, and I agree. Like, I wouldn't even get the laser surgery for my eyes. I just
Me neither.
never. I don't even want to put contact lenses in my eyes. It's just like my most cherished body part, honestly. Like, I can't imagine purposely screwing with it. But anyway, yeah. I mean, so this guy gets it done, and he starts having complications of his eyes are tearing all the time, and he's getting headaches all the time. Like, shocker,
Obviously.
right? Yeah. So I mean, this is why it's not approved here yet. And I just wonder, like, how do you not regret? I mean, you have regret like that, but that's just like the biggest regret ever. I don't, because you can't ever go back and, it's causing, because, and I suppose this is why the FDA isn't approving it, because it's a foreign body. We talk about foreign bodies all the time, not the rectal ones that people put in, but like, getting a foreign body implanted in you, whether it's a piercing in a weird place or just getting an IUD or something, whenever you put a foreign substance into your body that's going to live there for a while, your body, it starts to attack it because it recognizes that it shouldn't be there. And some people's bodies freak out worse than others, and foreign bodies could cause serious problems for people. And you could put them in your eye, and all of a sudden your own immune system is going to start attacking that and trying to get it out and push it out. And why would you want your immune system attacking on your eye? I mean, it's just so crazy. Now, certain times people have to get foreign bodies, especially for medical reasons. And then that's when you take the risk and say, well, I need this inferior vena cava filter because I don't want to get a clot that's going to travel to my lung and kill me. So I'm going to get this foreign body put in even though they're complications, because the other complication is death. But for something stupid like changing your eye color,
especially when the contacts
I mean, and
exist.
you could even go as far as breast implants and some of the problems people have had with those. It's just like, it's not, to me anyway, like people could do whatever they want to do, but especially with this guy with the eye color, it's just like, is it really that hard to just put contact lenses in every day? Like, I don't understand.
Well, to your point though, your vision is a lot different than having nice boobs, right? Like, it's your vision. You should not be messing with your vision, because there's obviously people that are living in it blind, but if you were born with vision, you should not do anything unnecessary to tamper
you should
with
just
it.
like, and
be
and there's a
grateful.
lot of studies and correlations with people having procedures done like that correlate with like your underlying mental health and everything like that, because sometimes those kind of changes really have like an adverse psychological effect on people. But and it's like, this is the problem, because they're preying on people that don't have money, and now the guy doesn't have money to even get it fixed, and it's just terrible.
Wait, did you also see this part too?
Oh,
That
yes,
there was
I know
an
what you're going to
alleged-
say. Yes.
There was an alleged packaging mishap causing him to receive the incorrect eye color, leaving him with jade green eyes instead of frost gray. So then, after expressing his frustration, he went ahead with the procedure anyway because the company repeatedly told him it was going to make his life better.
Yeah. So, like, how do you undergo a procedure like that when they say, oh, we got the wrong ones, but you're here, you might as well get them? It's so outrageous.
This is reminding me of the guy with the tracheas. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. You know what I'm talking about? The bad surgeon. It's just like total fraudulent to me. I want to see this documentary, but I don't know if I could watch it if they're showing eye surgery stuff. That really skeeves me out. But I'm interested.
No, I am too. I feel like that needs to be a Mother Knows Death field trip.
Anyone? What are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Don't forget to enter our 2-year anniversary giveaway. It ends this Friday at midnight. Is the last day to submit. So, grand prize, you get dinner with us in the Philadelphia area. Date TBD, but sometime around January, February. So it's the dinner, signed book, free year of the gross room. Then 2 other people can win a signed book and something extra. So to enter the giveaway, you're going to head over to Apple, leave us a written review, head over to Spotify and leave us a review, or go to YouTube and subscribe, screenshot that, and email it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See you guys. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor, and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology, so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.